All right, here we go. Part two of the startup selling. Oops, here we are. The startup selling book yourself solid with industry at industry conferences webinar. So we spent the first part of our time together just focusing on key principles, ideas, why this is all important, helping you understand some basic principles that you can apply not just at the upcoming conference you have with Health 2.0. We can use it for any conferences, any events, scaling this out over the course of the next couple of years. And so where we left it is we said, okay, we're going to shift over to the tactical side of things. And so I'm going to give you some really specific steps that you should be taking right away with the upcoming conferences that you have, the upcoming conference that you have. And I'm also going to be sharing with you a couple of examples of how I go about this myself, giving you some email templates and some ideas on how you can go about getting the meetings that you want so that you can book yourself solid. Okay, so here we go. First thing that I always encourage people to do, I encourage teams and startups to do is, and while we're focused on this upcoming event coming up on the horizon, make an industry conference list for yourself. Think about all of the events, do some research, spend an hour or two going to different industry organizations, professional groups, ask around to other people that are in the industry and just ask them, like, what are some of the key events? What are some industry conferences that I should be thinking about? And just build out a calendar for yourself. And this is critical because you want to think about what are all the events that you might go to over the course of a year. And there's probably no shortage of events. It's probably the opposite, is that there's events almost every week or at least a couple per month that you could be going to. And so you want to research and figure out, okay, how much is it to register? How much is it to sponsor? Is it local or is it international? How much is it going to cost me to do the travel? And just understanding what that calendar might be like for yourself, as well as the investments, will help you start thinking about the right ways to target your efforts, not just for this one event, for all future events coming down the road. So I always encourage people to make a list and keep that as a running list. And anytime you have something new, just pop it into that list. I personally use Google Sheets because then I can share it with my team. If I see something new, I just pop it into there and then keep it in sequential order, most recent to the one that's farthest away. Okay, so just make a conference list if you haven't already do that. If you haven't already done that. All right. Coffee's working a little too fast. My mouth is moving faster than my brain, or it was something. My brain is moving faster than my mouth, and my mouth is moving faster than my brain. It's one or the other. We'll get this right. Okay. So first step, tactically, make a conference list. Secondly, what I want to encourage you to do is go out to these industry websites, like I said, and in this case, we're talking about Health 2.0, and start to get a sense for what's going on at these events. Who are the speakers? And that brings me to tip number 2. So build the attendee list or the speaker list. So depending on the event, depending on the industry conference, if you register for the conference, sometimes that will give you access to all of the attendees, everyone else that's registered for the event. It's usually just their name, first name, last name, company name. That's about it, their title. So it might be Susan Jones, Vice President of Research Analytics at XYZ company. Oftentimes you can get that list. Sometimes it's not a nice clean list on Excel. Sometimes it's just a sortable list online. And so you'll have to go ahead and build out that list yourself, like copy and paste from online into a Google spreadsheet or into an Excel spreadsheet of some kind. Now, not every industry conference will allow the registrations to get the attendee list. Sometimes the attendee list is reserved only for sponsors, which obviously sometimes if an attendee registration is $2,000, maybe the sponsorships start as high, as much as $10,000 or $12,000. So, it may not be worth buying a sponsorship just to get the attendee list. If you're working with other companies, like in the case of this group that we're talking with now, there's a lot of you that are working together. I know some of you are sponsors and some of you are not. So this is an opportunity for you guys to help each other out. So if you're a sponsor, I think for Health 2.0, as an example, this is a case where they do not provide the attendee list to people who are only registered to attend. It's only provided to the people that are sponsors. So if you're a sponsor, be willing to help somebody else out and be willing to share that attendee list so that they can start booking meetings for themselves. So the next thing you want to do is rank order your targets prospects. So once we have a clear view of who is attending, what we want to start doing is thinking about rank ordering who we want to meet with. Because if there are 2, 3, 5, 10,000 people or more at a conference, we obviously can't just start with the people that last name begins with A and work down to the Z's, right? We need to think about rank ordering our target prospects. And there's a couple ways to do that. Here's an example of what I've done. This is for a product intelligence and experience summit in San Francisco. I did this with a client that I was working with. And so one of the things we did is we looked at rank ordering based on 2 different identifiers. So the first thing we looked at was the company name. So there were certain companies, as the client, her name is Kelly, as she was going down this list, she said there are certain companies I definitely would like to meet with. And so AbbVie was one of those companies. Another one you can see in yellow here is Blue Cross of Idaho. So as an example, she saw Blue Cross of Idaho and she said, well, we've already done a bunch of work in the healthcare space. We've helped other companies, including Blue Cross of California. So like there's already good case history there. I already have a referenceable customer. If I could meet with Blue Cross of Idaho, that would be really great. So that's a case where we targeted based on just who the company was. And so for you, with your team, for your company, you might have certain specific target companies, accounts that you want to go after. So that's one way to start rank ordering. The other way to do this is by title. The other way to do it is by title. So there are certain titles that you should know are better for targeting to sell your product, right? So as an example, using Kelly here, we had some people that are focused on, here's down here, research analyst. So for her, she said, okay, if I can meet with somebody who's a research analyst, that's actually, especially if they have insights in their title, then that's a good person for me for her particular product and service that she was selling. That was a particularly good person to try to meet with. So even though Biorad Laboratories was not a target account, the people that would attend this conference that have insights research analyst in their title, that would be a good person to target. So these are just a couple different ways that you can target and start thinking about rank ordering your list. And so the other thing you'll notice here is over on the left-hand side, I've got an ABC. So my A's are my top priorities. Like I definitely would want to meet with the A person if I can. The B's are, okay, if I can't meet with an A, then I want to fill it with a B. And the C's are people that I really don't want to meet with. I will if I have like absolutely nothing else going on during a specific block of time. I will meet with a C, but I really prefer not to if I can avoid it. So in her case, you can see there's a C here. This guy is a consultant. And so Kelly's company is also a consultancy. So, you know, what ends up happening a lot of times at these conferences is that you're a consultant and you meet with other consultants and you have one of those interesting conversations of, oh, maybe we could do lead gen with each other, or maybe we could partner up, and it never really leads to anything. So that's why that might be a C for Kelly in this case. So you just want to think about rank ordering once you have the attendee list, and that way it'll allow you to start figuring out who your main targets will be, because again, you have this opportunity cost of time, both at the conference, but also if you're booking 4 or 6 weeks out for these meetings, there's only so many people you're going to be able to contact. And so you want to make sure you're contacting the people that are best fit your target, right? Now, one of the things you'll notice, somebody just wrote in the chat box that there's a LinkedIn URL over here. So yeah, so one of the things that I do, let me just skip over to something else real quick. One of the things that I do with to maximize my time is once I have the attendee list, then you can imagine this LinkedIn URL is obviously not provided as part of the attendee list, but I've got first name, last name, title, company name. So what I can do is kick off a job to a virtual assistant. So I work with, there's a couple of companies that I've worked with. One is Upwork and another one is called Freelancer. And here's a link at the bottom of this presentation, which I'll include in the follow-up email after this webinar. And this link down here is on my members only website. I'll make sure you have access to this video. It's just a short 2 short 10-minute videos that show you how to kick off a virtual assistant job. So this kind of work of finding a LinkedIn URL is perfect to go find somebody and pay them $2, $3, $5 per hour and say, look, I've got this list of 1,000 attendees that are going to this industry conference. What I would like to do is have you find their LinkedIn URL and their email address if possible, and then make that into one big giant spreadsheet. So it doesn't make sense for you personally as a startup CEO or somebody that's as a leader on your team to be spending time Google searching, first name, last name, title, and company name just so you can find a LinkedIn URL. Instead, you want to think about how can you use your time more effectively. And the way you can do that is by assigning this kind of work out to a virtual assistant. And oftentimes they can get this work done for you in 24 to 48 hours. It can be really, really fast, really, really fast turnaround time. So that's what I would definitely recommend doing. And so once you have their LinkedIn profiles, now this is where you can start to do a little bit of research so that you can tailor your message to that each of the individual people, right? So again, you remember those core principles, right? We are adding value, we're selling the meeting, right? We're showing this person why they should want to talk to us. And the only way we can do that is to personalize each and every message. Now, what that means is there's a limit to how many people you're going to be able to contact legitimately. So when you go find them on LinkedIn, you're going to be looking for indicators that would show you information that you can use as part of your personalized message. So what I want to do here is actually dive into a really specific example that I pulled together. This is a real live actual example of something that I did using the Health 2.0 conference. So the first thing I did, let me go back to this page. So the first thing I did is I went to the industry website or the conference website, and I went over to this link, which just gives us it's the main page for the fall 2016 Health 2.0 conference, right? And so that's step one, right? Step two is I then found the people that were speakers on the agenda. So I didn't have an attendee list because I'm not registered even. And even if I was registered with Health 2.0, I would not yet have an attendee list. I'd have to get that from somebody else. So there's still plenty of work that I can do ahead of time. And so what I like to do is go through the speaker list because that will give me some early targets, some short-term targets to start contacting people that I might want to meet with. So I found this person, you can see circled down the bottom. Her name is Julie Capistron, and she is a speaker, or she's showing a demo as part of this panel discussion, as part of this session at the meeting on the next gen consumer technology for healthy choices. She's one of the people that is doing a product demo. And I said, hey, she looks like potentially the kind of person I want to meet with. Well, let me dive into a little bit more about Julie and see if in fact she is somebody I want to meet with. And if she is, then how would I reach out to her? So I went to her LinkedIn profile. And so she is the co-founder and CEO of Stop, Breathe, and Think. And Stop, Breathe, and Think is a consumer web app that helps people to improve their mindfulness and meditation. And so while it's a consumer app, and I typically only focus on enterprise customers, turns out that there are several consumer-based applications that are now getting sold to enterprises. So in the United States, for example, there's a lot of competitive pressure around the benefits package for employees. And this idea of well-being and a well-rounded employee and a company providing to their employees not just the typical healthcare benefits, but also benefits outside of that, things like nutrition programs and better ways to eat and better ways to take care of themselves, exercise programs, for example. And so my thinking is when I look at somebody like Julie and I see her company, I see as an opportunity for her company, she's already had over 1 million people download this app, so there's already some huge success. There might be an opportunity for her to go to enterprises and sell to a large company like Morgan Stanley or Wells Fargo or United Healthcare and say, hey, how about we provide access to all of your employees as part of your benefits package for a paid version of this mindfulness and meditation app. So this is just my thinking. I'm just giving you stream of consciousness as I'm seeing Julie show up on the conference list, right? So from here, I'm going, okay, well, this gives me some information about Julie. So now what? What do I do now? Well, the good news is that she's on LinkedIn, but the bad news is I am not even closely connected to her. She's third level connection, which means we don't even have one person that we mutually know. So I've got to figure out a way to reach out to her in order that she might be interested in meeting with me at this conference. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is using InMails. I'm going to be using an InMail. So InMails on LinkedIn, if you're not familiar with them, are basically allow you to message people directly on LinkedIn that you are not connected to. And so if you have your basic LinkedIn membership, I think you get like 3 or 4, I think it's 3 per month. You can send 3 emails to anybody. If you pay for a premium subscription, Julie has a premium subscription. I have a premium subscription. The one I pay for provides me something like 25 or 30 of these emails every single month. So basically every day I could send an email to somebody I'm not connected to if I wanted to. So that's pretty cool. So before I send that email, though, and before I sell the meeting with Julie, I need to do a little bit more research. I still don't feel like I have enough. And one of the places I like to go is Google News. So go to news.google.com, news.google.com, and I'm just going to type her name in here. And what's really cool is when I search her name, the very first result shows me that there's this press release from about a year or so ago that shows me that Julie has stepped away. It says here, the company announced that Julie Capistron, EVP of Media, has decided to step down on June 5th after 8 years with Demand Media, right? So this shows me, I see. So she stepped down in May. It says here she was going to continue consulting for the company through August. And look, she started her company in September. So wow, pretty interesting. So she spent a long, probably successful career in media to leave and go start her company. Interesting information I can use as part of my outreach to show her that I've done my research, that I'm not just spamming her with one of thousands of emails hoping I get meetings. I want to show her that this is a personal outreach to her, that I really do want to meet her. And so here is the email that I sent to Julie. So you'll see the subject line is something really specific. Read about Stop, Breathe, and Think. I have a question for you. And I'll just read it to you. And you can listen to it and tell me what you think. Hi, Julie. I learned about Stop, Breathe, and Think from the Health 2.0 conference. I've personally been practicing for 2 years and just downloaded your app. So I have been meditating for about 2 years, and I did download her app. So now she knows, like, oh, cool. Scott's somebody who understands a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish here. Now I'm showing her that I've done some research. I read the press release about your departure from Demand Media to start your company. That must have been a tough decision, and congratulations on your decision. Your panel at the conference looks super interesting, and I'm planning to attend. If the crowds are too big, I'd like to introduce myself after your session. So telling her that I'd like to meet with her. And here's where I'm going to make it interesting. Here's where I'm going to add value. My company, Sales Quality, helps startups grow faster, and add a couple of ideas that I'd like to share based on my experience working with companies like yours. Would that be okay? So I'm ending with a question. I'm kind of piquing her interest a little bit. I have a couple of ideas for her, adding value. I'm ending with a question because I'm assuming she's reading this on her mobile phone or reading this really, really quickly. And so what I want her to do is just go, oh, yeah, that would be great. Let's do it. Well, guess what happened? Within a day, well, one thing I did first actually is I did a word count here. And so you can see I've used 116 words. I just copied and pasted that message into Microsoft Word to do a word count. Usually about 100, about 100, 150 is what you want to keep your emails to. You want to keep them pretty short. Imagine that the person is going to be reading them on a mobile phone. You don't want them scrolling too much. You want to have a really specific call to action like I had there, telling her exactly why I'm getting in touch and asking her if it would be okay for us to meet. And she actually got back to me within a day. And you can see down here, this is the tail end of my message. My company, Sales Qualia, right here on LinkedIn. And her note back, great, thanks for reaching out. Looking forward to connecting at the conference. So now I can go to that event, go to that conference, go to that session, find Julie, introduce myself and say, hey, Julie, you might remember I sent you a message and I was going to introduce myself. I help companies like yours to grow sales faster, and I had a couple of ideas. Do you have a few minutes now to chat? Or maybe we can go grab a coffee. Maybe we can go find another time over the next 2 days while you're here at the event, right? So it's that simple. I mean, it worked. I sent one message, and this is how I did it, and I got a result. Now it doesn't always work. I usually strive for about 20 to 30% response rate. It happened to work out pretty well for me in that I sent this message to Julie, and she got right back to me, and it all worked out for purposes of this webinar. But it does work. I mean, it all goes back to being really clear, following those principles, adding value, showing her I did my research, that this is a personal outreach, keeping it really simple, and explaining to her why she would want to meet with me, right? So let me just pause there because I know there's usually some LinkedIn questions that people have. And so I want to make sure that I take a few minutes to answer those questions. So question here is it better to contact people through LinkedIn or through email? I personally love using LinkedIn. And the reason I like using LinkedIn is somebody like Julie or any executive, really anybody in the world nowadays, think about how many emails you're getting. If I'm sending yet another email, it's one of 200 emails that a person's getting in a day. Chances are that it's going to get lost in the shuffle. If I send it through LinkedIn, in particular, when I look at Julie's profile, right, she has over 500 connections. She is a premium member on LinkedIn. Those are signals to me that she is pretty active on LinkedIn. And so if I send a LinkedIn message, it's just a different channel by which I can communicate with her that's outside of the day-to-day stuff that's coming in on her mobile phone. And so I like sending the in-mails, and I like specifically, I said in the in-mails, I'm going to be clear about this, I do not send connection requests to people who I've not met. So, and I've been the recipient of this oftentimes where people just send me random connection requests ahead of a meeting or ahead of a conference or ahead of some kind of event. They're hoping that if I connect with them, that's me telling them that I want to meet with them. That is not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is you craft a personalized email, just like I did, and you send that through InMail. And if that person accepts, then you meet with them, then after the meeting, after you meet them, then you can send a connection request as a follow-up, right? So this is where you might want to think about investing if you haven't already invested in a premium membership for LinkedIn. I think even they do the first month free as a trial. It's only like $100. So it's a very, very low cost way of getting lots of message opportunities out to people that you want to meet with. Because again, these executives that you want to meet with are super busy people, right? So it's going to be hard to reach them in their typical channels. And some of them don't even check their own email anymore. A lot of people have assistants that are checking emails for them. So I just want to make sure that I stress that part about using LinkedIn is that I am only sending those connection requests after I met with somebody, and I'm using that as a way to follow up with them. Otherwise, that connection is not going to be worth very much. Okay. So we got time for one more question. One more question here is what's the best way for collecting leads at a conference booth? So I know a lot of people on this call are going to be sponsors. They're going to have a booth. A lot of you have a demo booth at the Health 2.0 conference, for example. And so, typically at these events, if you have a booth, the events now are giving the people, they'll give you this little electronic scanner. It's like a barcode scanner. And a lot of times what I see, and this is just tragic in my mind, I see salespeople standing in booths, and every time someone walks by the booth, even if they don't show any interest in the booth whatsoever, they go, "Hey, can I scan your badge? Can I scan your badge? Can I scan your badge? Can I scan your badge?" And all they're doing is scanning badges for people. They're not having conversations. They're not qualifying them. And yeah, you might scan 500 badges, but now you have 500 people to follow up with, and most of which are never going to remember that they even talked to you in the first place. So even if you have this badge scanner, just like with LinkedIn, you shouldn't just send a connection request to people you've never met. The badge scanner should be reserved for people where you have a conversation, because after that conference and you get that list of people whose badges you scanned, you want to make sure that as you're following up with those people, there's a high likelihood they're going to remember that conversation and that they wanted you to follow up with them. And so, excuse me a second. So there's one question that I like to use, and I learned this from a startup founder I used to work with. And the one question I love to use when I'm working in a conference booth is this one. Somebody's walking by, you make a little eye contact, you go, "Hi, what brings you to the conference?" That is a perfect question to ask. And you can use it whether you're at the conference booth, you can use it if you're at the coffee break, you can use it in a session and you sit down next to somebody, you go, "Hey, what brings you to the conference?" What this will immediately do is help you qualify that person to know whether or not they are someone you should be talking to from a selling standpoint. Because they might go, "Oh, yeah, I'm here because I'm trying to learn more about XYZ," or "I'm here because I am a speaker. I'm here because my boss told me to go." You're just looking for a way to engage in conversation so you can identify why they're at the conference, and that information will help you identify whether or not potentially that person is a lead. And so, especially at the conference booth, when you start talking to people, they go, "Well, I'm actually here looking, I'm the VP of operations at XYZ hospital, and one of the things we like to do is come to Health 2.0 because we like to learn about new technology that's in the industry." Well, if you happen to be a company that sells software to hospitals, and you go, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of what we do. Tell me more about some of the challenges that you're facing right now. And now, boom, you're in a conversation, which is exactly what you want. And then, so that's the way. So think about quality over quantity. It's not about how many badges you can scan or how many business cards you can collect. It's how many quality conversations you're having. So I would highly, highly stress focusing on the quality aspect. Use that question. Hey, hi, what brings you to the conference? That question will open lots and lots of very high quality conversations for you, and focus in on that. So, so we're coming up here on time. I need to, we're going to wrap this up now. Really, really great job with the questions. Thanks for participating. For the purposes of the Health 2.0 conference, please make sure that if you are a sponsor, maybe you could help out some of the people that are going as attendees only. They don't have access to the attendee list. If you don't have access to the attendee list and you need sort of and booking meetings, then I would highly suggest going back to starting with the speakers. All the speakers are going to be here. You can get their name, their company. You can find them on LinkedIn and do exactly what I did with Julie. There are probably 100 different speakers at this conference, at this event, that you could be talking to, let alone all the attendees. So that's what I would suggest doing as a way to get started if you need to. So that was part two. 2 parts, like we said, focusing on how to book yourself solid with strategies for setting sales meetings at industry conferences. This has been Scott Sambucci over at Sales Qualia, and been really exciting, really grateful that you've spent this time. I really appreciate the questions that you've been able to ask. If you have any questions in the meantime, for those of you on this call, if you're on this call live, I know some people are going to be listening to it down the road, not just this group on the Health 2.0 conference, but others. If you are part of the Nordic Innovation Group and you're coming over to the Health 2.0 conference, we do have a workshop that we're going to be doing live in a couple of weeks, and we'll be sending out all the information and the dates and the times for that. If you happen to be listening to this webinar and it's post-event, post-Health 2.0, and you're interested in talking a little bit more about how we can help you further, then obviously just let me know. That's me, Scott Sambucci, founder and chief sales geek at Sales Qualia. And we'll wrap it up here, okay? So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Let me know what questions you have, and looking forward to working with everybody really, really soon. All right? Thanks so much. See ya.